Morning, everyone. Call our meeting to order. Dan, can you shut the door, please? Thank you. First item we have is bill introductions. Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a bill that deals with tech-enabled trust banks. It's RS 1484.
Any other? Okay, I have one. It's RS 1663. It's dealing with the Kansas Medical Society. We're going to take motions now. Oh, sorry. Senator McGinn.
We use mics.
Senator McGinn.
So I was just asking about what that bill is that Senator Clays introduced.
I'll ask staff if they have RS 1484 available.
Well, what was it called, though? What did you?
Tech-enabled trust banks is the title on behalf of the
Tech-enabled.
Senate President.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, I would ascertain a motion, Senator Clays.
Move introduction of these two bills.
We have a motion. We have a second by Senator Hawk. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the first thing we're going to have today, we're going to have an overview by Amy Deckert on the Senate Bill 267 and 268. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have an overview document in front of you for the two Senate bills, which are Senate Bill 367 and 368. These do include the adjusted funding for fiscal year 2021, as well as the governor's recommendation for fiscal year 2022 for state agencies, as well as capital improvement expenditures for fiscal years 2021 and 2022 for a number of state agencies. These numbers do include adjustments in Governor's Budget Amendment number 1. I might note that Senate Bill 367 and 368 do not include the governor's recommendation to re-amortize the CAPER's legacy unfunded actuarial liability over 25 years. That is contained in Senate Bill 266. If substantive legislation to re-amortize is not passed, the cost savings attributed in the governor's recommendation to re-amortization would need to be deleted and would increase expenditures by $177.3 million, including $158.7 million from the state general fund in fiscal year 2022. In the middle of page 1, you see the summary of changes to the approved fiscal year 2021 expenditures. The originally approved budget totaled $19.9 billion, including $8 billion from the state general fund. This amount was subsequently increased by $351 million in state general fund expenditure authority carried forward from fiscal year 2022, and then decreased by a lapse of $374.5 million state general fund due to the governor's July 2020 allotment. For fiscal year 2021, the governor's recommendation totals $21.3 billion, with $7.6 billion from the state general fund. This recommendation decreases expenditures from the state general fund by $413 million below the approved amount subsequent to the governor's allotment. This does include reductions starting at the bottom of page 1 of $135.2 million. These include reductions of $42.2 million to the evidence-based juvenile programs account, reductions in the Department for Aging and Disability Services of $45.9 million, largely related to non-can care caseloads. At the top of page 2, reductions in the Adjutant General's Department of $16.3 million in disaster relief funding and swapping federal funds for state general fund monies. Reducing Human Services caseload expenditures by $166.5 million to reflect the revised FMAP rate, and swapping state general fund salary expenditures for federal funds, mostly in the Department of Corrections and its facilities, as well as the Adjutant General's Department, to reduce expenditures by $25 million, and reducing expenditures in the Department of Corrections by $9.1 million to reflect savings from the return of out-of-state inmates. In addition to the expenditure adjustments, the governor recommends increasing state general fund's revenues by $152.5 million. This includes $132.2 million from delaying payment of the Pooled Money Investment Board bridge loan and $17.5 million from lapsing the coronavirus prevention account in the Legislative Coordinating Council back to the state general fund. The governor's recommended revenue and expenditures adjustment produce an estimated current year ending balance of $767.5 million, or 10.1% of state general fund expenditures. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to pause for questions or move on to fiscal year 2022.
Anyone have questions on 2021? Seeing none, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the bottom of page 2 starts fiscal year 2022. The governor's recommendation totals $21 billion from all funding sources, including $8 billion from the state general fund. This is a decrease in total expenditures of $305.6 million and an increase of state general fund expenditures of $375.1 million from the revised estimate for fiscal year 2021. For state operations, at the bottom of page 2, this is a decrease of $362.7 million, or 5.9% below the fiscal year 2021 recommendation. This includes a reduction of $389.5 million in federal COVID funding, as well as a decrease in the Highway Patrol of $16 million due to the one-time purchase of aircraft in fiscal year 2021. These reductions are partially offset by increases of $31.5 million for the state employee pay adjustment, as well as $29.4 million for lottery services and $22.6 million for salary adjustments in the Kansas judiciary. At the top of page 3, for local units of government, the governor's recommendation is a decrease of $433.2 million below the 2021 recommendation. This is attributable to a reduction of $400 million in the Office of Recovery for direct aid to local cities and counties, $147.6 million for CAPERS reamortization, resulting in reduced K-12 contributions, $21.1 million from the Adjutant General's Department and COVID-19 funding, $16.7 million in the Department of Commerce from the Job Creation Program Fund and COVID-19 relief funding, and $15.7 million from the Board of Regents. These reductions are partially offset by an increase of $173.6 million for the implementation of the K-12 education plan. For other assistance, the governor's recommendation is an increase of $143.6 million, or 2% above the 2021 recommendation. This increase is primarily attributable to $643.9 million in the Department of Health and Environment for Medicaid expansion, as well as the Human Service caseload adjustments, and $77.8 million in the Department for Children and Families for caseload adjustments and changes to the home and community-based services waivers. These increases are partially offset by reductions of $260.1 million in the Department of Labor for unemployment insurance benefits and $206.3 million in the Department of Commerce for COVID-19 federal assistance. In the middle of page 3, you see capital improvements. The governor's recommendation is an increase of $346.7 million above the fiscal year 2021 recommendation. This is largely attributable to $392.9 million for the implementation of the Eisenhower Legacy Comprehensive Transportation Plan. This is partially offset by a reduction of $35 million in the Board of Regents and institutions. Also, I might note that Department of Wildlife Parks expenditures are also decreased by $5.3 million for the completion of repairs due to flooding in fiscal year 2019. At the bottom of page 3, you see that the governor's budget does include additional resources for a general broad-based salary increase in fiscal year 2022. The governor's recommendation appropriates $31.5 million, including $11.3 million SGF, for a 2.5% state employee base pay adjustment. This plan would increase salaries for classified and unclassified employees in the executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch. Legislative and elected officials would be excluded from this adjustment. Funds would be appropriated to and certified for distribution by the State Finance Council. At the top of page 4, employees of state universities are not included in the proposed pay plan. However, the governor does recommend adding $10.4 million all-state general fund to the university operating grants. This amount is equivalent to what the pay plan would have provided for university employees, but is provided in the Board of Regents budget for use at their discretion. The governor's recommendation also includes $20.2 million all-state general fund and salary increases for the judicial branch in fiscal year 2022. And if I might turn your attention to page 5, you see the heading Status of the State General Fund. The governor's recommendation does include some proposed revenue adjustments, including the delay of the repayment of the Pooled Money Investment Board loan in fiscal year 2021, and to pay it back over a 10-year period, transferring the $81.9 million balance in the Budget Stabilization Fund for fiscal year 2022 to the State General Fund, the addition of $43.1 million for fiscal year 2022 through a passage of the Marketplace Facilitator Bill, and $42.7 million through a passage of a tax on digital products. I might note that those final two are not contained in these two bills. That would be a separate legislation. And then at the bottom of page 5, you see the governor's recommendation profile. Be happy to answer any questions you might have on the governor's recommendation.
Amy, on them last two, you said were in separate legislation. Has that passed either the House or the Senate side?
Mr. Chairman, I'll have to check. I don't believe that has progressed, but I'll have to check on that tax legislation.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Senator Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Amy. Just to be clear, on Governor's Rec FY 2022 column, where it shows an ending balance of 598.5, that does not include the Marketplace Facilitator and the tax on digital products?
No, that does include
That
the
does
assumption
include
of
that.
passage of those two items, correct?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions? Seeing none, please proceed. Senator Petty.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was a little slow on the uptake there. So as you've gone through this, the bulk of the decreases have been because of federal stimulus money that's just one-time money. Would that be correct?
Mr. Chairman, the reductions in all funds are largely attributed to those assumption of those federal dollars. I might note that the governor's budget was put together prior to the contemplation of the most recent federal legislation. So again, this is as the governor's budget as submitted.
Amy, on the Budget Stabilization Fund and the pooled money investment, are those in the ending balance in?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, those are included in the governor's profile ending balance.
So if we pay the PMIB money off, we would have to lower the ending balance by that amount, correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Senator McGinn.
In looking at page 5, I'm looking through the background material, maybe it's here and I can't find it, but of the work that we have done, do we have the comparison of what we've done, the change? Is that somewhere in this stack of paper?
Mr. Chairman, so yes, your shorthand list is provided after the other conferees on this bill hearing. I will go through that list with you.
Right, I see that, but what I don't see, how do I compare these ending balances with the work that we've done?
Amy?
Mr. Chairman, you do not yet have a profile. We'd be happy to provide you one tomorrow after your activities today regarding what your ending balance looks like now.
Okay, I'll just wait and see how the day goes. Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none? Thank you, Amy. Amy, was you wanting to go over the list with us? I think maybe we'll do that first, if that works with you.
Certainly, Mr.
Everyone should have a copy in their packet of the list, so we could go through that before we start on working the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you should have in front of you a list of all of the actions that the committee has taken so far. You should also have in your packets all of the appropriated special revenue funds. So that includes the State Water Plan Fund, the Children's Initiative Fund, the Economic Development Initiatives Fund, and the Expanded Lottery Act Gaming Fund. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on those also. So the changes that you have made so far is a 5-page document. For fiscal year 2021, for the State Bank Commissioner, you added funds and language authorizing the bank commissioner to increase its per diem compensation rate, as well as deleted salary adjustments. For the Office of the Attorney General, you transferred funds from the Kansas Endowment for Youth Fund to the Tobacco Master Settlement Compensation Agreement Fund, as well as added language to permit the agency to make expenditures for other purposes from that fund. For the Department of Revenue, you deleted $66,000 from the State General Fund for operations reductions. For the Department of Commerce, you added language authorizing transfer from the State General Fund to this Kansas Bioscience Authority grant commitments account, and then you deleted $1.3 million from the Kansas Bioscience Authority grant commitments account of the State General Fund, leaving a balance of $100,000. For the Department of Health and Environment, you added language requiring hospitals and physicians to be paid at a Medicaid rate established in 2021 until the HCAP program provider assessment rate adjustment was passed. For the Department of Aging and Disability Services, you added $25.1 million, including $9 million State General Fund for a 5% rate increase for the IDD HCBS waiver. You added $4.4 million, including $1.8 million from the State General Fund for additional funding for the Medicaid Home and Community-Based Services Brain Injury Waiver Services. For the Department of Corrections, you added $21.1 million, all from the State General Fund, to the Evidence-Based Juvenile Programs account to restore half of the governor's recommended reduction. At the top of page 2, for the Highway Patrol, you deleted $15.5 million to replace a aircraft and reduce the transfer from the State Highway Fund by the same amount. So this would retain $700,000 for an upgrade for the FLIR for the agency's 2012 aircraft. Number 2, you deleted money for a salary adjustment. Number 3 is also a salary adjustment reduction. Number 4 is you added language requiring the Highway Patrol to use the training academy for all of their law enforcement officers. For the Kansas Bureau of Investigations, this is a removal of a pay adjustment. For the Department of Agriculture, you added $300,000, all from the State General Fund for litigation cost. And for the Department of Transportation, you deleted $3.8 million for a proposed salary adjustment. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to move to 2022, or would you like to take questions?
Anyone questions? Senator Kirshen.
On that, was that 300,000 or 30,000 for the Department of Agriculture?
I showed 30,000. Do you believe it was supposed to be 300?
No, I thought you said 300,000.
I apologize if I did. It was 30.
Okay,
I apologize.
Wonder where it went all at once.
Senator Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we'll talk about this later, but I just wanted to make a comment about the Highway Patrol and the KBI have a different kind of a salary schedule, and I served on that Public Safety Committee a few years ago, and so we deal with that differently than we did the governor's 2.5%, and just kind of making note that we'll need to look at that at some time when it's appropriate.
We've got it coming up pretty quick here.
Good. Oh, well, I like quick. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Senator McGinn?
On the Department of Commerce, we restored what the subcommittee did, or I guess that would be, since we restored it, it's no change from the governor's budget. I think I just figured it out. Thank you.
That's correct, right? Yes. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move to 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for 2022, for the Office of the State Bank Commissioner, there's a reduction of $303,000 for salary adjustments. For the Office of the Attorney General, you authorize a transfer of $463,000 from the Key Fund to the Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement Fund and added language permitting the agency to make expenditures for other purposes. For the Secretary of State, you reduce the amount of the transfer from the State General Fund to the Democracy Fund for the state match requirements of the HAVA Act. For the Healthcare Stabilization Fund, you deleted $33,000 for salary adjustments. At the top of page 3, for the Judicial Branch, you added $200,000 from the Permanent Families account for the Court-Appointed Special Advocates Program and transferred that amount from the Key Fund for fiscal year 2022. You deleted $4.3 million all from the State General Fund and 70 FTE positions for the agency's enhancement request for additional court service officer personnel for review at Omnibus. And you deleted $20.2 million from the State General Fund for the agency's enhancement request for salary increases. For the Department of Revenue, you deleted $12,000 off from the State General Fund for operations. For the Department of Commerce, you added language authorizing transfers of money from the State General Fund to the Kansas Bioscience Authority Grant Fund and up to the amount necessary to meet contractual obligations if there needs to be additional money in those funds. For the Department of Health and Environment Health, you added $2.5 million all State General Fund for the primary health projects and language specifying that this amount is to be directed for community-based primary care grants provided by the Community Care Network of Kansas. Number 2, you added $1.5 million all State General Fund to increase funds available for local health departments using the formula contained in statute. You added language raising the minimum to be provided to each of the 100 local health departments from $7,000 to $12,000. You added $150,000 State General Fund monies for school-based oral health preventative services. You added $140,000 all from the State General Fund for Lyme disease recognition and treatment. And number 6, you added language requiring hospitals and physicians to be paid at the Medicaid rate established in 2021. For Department of Health and Environment, you added language requiring the agency to maintain its current staffing levels in the livestock waste section of the Bureau of Environmental Field Services. For KDADS, at the bottom of page 3, you added $31 million, including $12.4 million State General Fund to continue the 5% increase in the rate for the IDD, Home and Community-Based Services waiver, as well as to provide an additional 2% rate increase in 2022. Number 2, you added $3 million all from the State General Fund for operational costs to implement the National 988 Behavioral Health Crisis Hotline. At the top of page 4, for KDADS, you added $1 million all from the State General Fund for the Psychiatric Residential Treatment Facility pilot program at Ember Hope. Number 4, you added $25 million, including $10 million State General Fund for a $10 increase in the daily reimbursement rate for nursing facilities. Number 5, you added $6.4 million, including $2.6 million State General Fund for the Medicaid Home and Community-Based Services Technology waiver. Additionally, you added language directing how this funding would be used. Number 6, you added $2 million all from the State General Fund for additional funding for community mental health center grants. Number 7, you added $250,000 all from the State General Fund for substance use disorder grants. For the Board of Regents, you deleted $10.3 million, all from the State General Fund. This is the amount that's equivalent to the 2.5% employee pay plan. Additionally, you deleted $76,000, all from the State General Fund, and this is the amount equivalent to the proposed 2.5% pay plan. For the School Board of the Blind, you deleted $39,000, all from the State General Fund for salary adjustments. For the School for the Deaf, you deleted $63,000, all from the State General Fund for salary adjustments. For the Highway Patrol, you deleted $636,000, all from special revenue funds for salary adjustments. And number 2, you also deleted $2.1 million, all from special revenue funds for salary adjustments. For the KBI, you deleted $18,000, all from the State General Fund for salary adjustments. For the Department of Agriculture, you added $30,000 from the State General Fund for litigation costs. Number 2, you added $60,000 from the State General Fund for a grain inspector and other grain warehouse program expenditures. Number 3, you added $25,000 all from the State General Fund for contracts to eradicate and control the feral swine population. Number 4, at the top of page 5, you added $250,000 off from the State Water Plan Fund for aid for conservation districts. Number 5, you added $50,000 from the State Water Plan Fund for a conservation reserve enhancement program to provide financial assistance to landowners. Number 6, you added $50,000 off from the State Water Plan Fund for irrigation technology. For the State Fair Board, you added $425,000 off from the State General Fund to hire 600 seasonal fair time employees for fiscal year 2022. For the State Water Office, you added $60,000 off from the State Water Plan Fund for the study of the Arbuckle Group formation. You deleted $100,000 off from the State Water Plan Fund for water technology farms, and you deleted $310,000 from the State Water Plan Fund for watershed conservation practices. For the Department of Wildlife, Parks, and Tourism, you deleted $29,000 for salary adjustments. For the Department of Transportation, you deleted $3.8 million for salary adjustments. And the state employee pay section, this is the overall 2.5% salary adjustment that you deleted for review at omnibus. Your only item for fiscal year 2023 was the deletion of $194,000 for the Office of State Bank Commissioner for salary adjustments. Be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Questions? Seeing none, Amy, thank you. You want to go over the other list?
Question?
Senator McGinn.
On the Department of Health, Environment Health, on the community-based primary care grants, we have add language specifying that this amount be directed for the community-based primary care grants provided by the, is that language necessary? Can we just add the money without language?
Amy?
Can we do that?
Mr. Chairman, you can certainly appropriate money. I think this language would add specificity to who's to receive that additional grant funding, but we can check back through the notes of your subcommittee hearing if you would like.
Yeah, and let me know if there's a reason why. Otherwise, it seems like it might be redundant.
Senator McGinn, is that one of that was one that you had the subcommittee on? Mm-hmm. And
We added 2.5.
right.
But then we added this language.
Right, that's why I thought that's what you and the subcommittee had suggested, so.
Yeah, so I just want to see what the notes were.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Seeing none, are you going to go over the other one also?
Mr. Chairman, just wanted to see if you wanted me to cover the GBA number 2 that was submitted, or if you would like to
Yes.
hold that. Okay, so I don't know if you have that in front of you. So you received Governor's Budget Amendment number 2 that amends the budget. It does not contain in the bills that you have in front of you. It's for the addition of $5.2 million, including $1.8 million in fiscal year 2021, and $20 million, including $8 million in 2022, for the Home and Community-Based Services brain injury waiver. The governor's recommendation does increase that to avoid creation of a waiting list for services. There's additional detail provided in that governor's budget amendment, or I believe the budget director is here if you have specific questions on that budget amendment.
Thank you, Amy. So, Amy, does our committee need to approve the GBA?
Mr. Chairman, if you would like that included, you would need to adopt that GBA, yes.
So we just adopted it, because we do have funds in there, but it wasn't the same amount, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Senator McGinn.
About that item, we put the 1.792 in. And then, so is what she has in front of us, is that an additional 1.8 in addition to what we put in?
Amy?
Mr. Chairman, so the governor is adjusting her budget, so that's adjusting her base. If you adopt her GBA and you leave in your adjustment, they would both be included. So you would,
1.7 plus 1.8?
if you adopt GBA number 2, as well as leave in your adjustment, correct?
Is that what she's wanting? Is she wanting both, or does she just want the 1.8? Because we can take that 1.7 out, put 1.8 in.
Right, I think that's what we were going to do
Okay.
if that was.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we were doubling.
But
So if you-
that's the way we understood it, was that we'd do the 1.8 instead of the 1.7 that we already had done.
Sounds good.
If the committee's amendable to that, that's. Senator Hawk.
Just a question, I'm not finding it. Did we put 8 million in also in general fund, state general fund for 2022? In your committee, Senator McGinn?
Senator McGinn.
I don't know, we put that, we moved it to omnibus. We put the 1.7 in, and that was one of the ones that we were going to have this little subcommittee study, and I believe we moved it to omnibus.
Senator Hawk.
Is it possible to adopt part of a governor's GBA, or is it all or nothing?
I think we could do whatever we want to do in the committee. I mean, it's, we can do, the 1.8 and then on 22, look at it at omnibus if that's what the committee chooses to do, or we can go ahead and adopt the whole thing. I think it's what the governor suggested, so I think it's up to the committee to determine.
It makes our budget bottom line look better if we take her GPA.
That's kind of what I thought. So. So a discussion on the GBA, Senator McGinn.
Could we do that? What you suggested was the 1.8, and since we were putting off the other for omnibus, because we're going to have that study group, and then we'll just take it up at omnibus. Can you do it that way, Amy? Divide up her GBA 2 parts?
Amy?
Mr. Chairman, to be clear, if you adopt fiscal year 2021 on the governor's recommendation, but not 2022, your recommendation would be a reduction of the 20 million for 2022, because we use her budget as the base. So if you do not adopt 2022, it will show up on your list as a reduction.
And then we'd have to fix it later, and then it'd be on us again, so. Back to just do it.
I was going to say the simplest probably would just be, if the committee desires, would just be to go ahead and accept the whole GBA. And is everyone okay with that? Senator Petty.
I would say yes, but I would agree with Senator McGinn that maybe we also need to reflect that we are going to be looking at this brain injury waiver more extensively to see how how legislation has impacted it.
Senator McGinn?
We could adopt the GBA with notes that that subcommittee will come back and report at omnibus the information.
Everyone okay with that? Senator Hawk?
Are you looking for a motion to approve the governor's GBA number 2?
Well,
Wait,
yeah, we're gonna wait till.
thank you.
So is everyone okay with Senator McGinn's suggestion that we go ahead and do the GBA as presented from the governor with language to have the subcommittee report back at omnibus? Everybody okay? Okay. Any other questions on the GBA? Senator Petty?
Well, I guess this really isn't a question about the GBA, but if we do vote to adopt the governor's budget amendment number 2, then I think, as Senator McGinn had mentioned earlier, then are we going to make a change?
Yes, we're going to omit the 1.7. Okay. So I guess at this time, we could have a motion and go ahead and everyone's comfortable with the GBA? Okay. Oh, before we do it, okay.
But we also have.
Okay, let me, okay. Any other questions for Amy? Seeing none, well, thank you, Amy. I'm sure that we'll have some as we proceed on this, so. We do have a public testimony from Monica Kurtz, Vice President of the External Programming, Kansas Suicide Prevention Headquarters, and Monica is on the WebEx. Welcome, Monica. Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you so much. Just real briefly, you have my written comments, but wanted to thank the Senate Ways and Means Committee for addressing the need for suicide prevention lifeline funding in their recommendations. And I'm available for any questions should there be any. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Monica? Seeing none, thank you for being here today, Monica. Appreciate your testimony, and everyone has a copy of that. So, Senator Hawk has a question. Senator Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if this is for staff or Monica. This is in KDAD's budget and the 988 number, and I think we had originally talked about in some earlier budget discussions about a similar program in the Attorney General's office. Is that coordination worked out now in these budgets? Does anybody know from those subcommittees or staff?
Do you know, Amy?
Mr. Chairman, I do remember the discussion. I believe that there was testimony that that was not the same overlap for those two programs. I believe you're referring to the Office of the Attorney General. So my understanding, but we can certainly follow up on that for you.
I certainly think this is an important area. I just want to make sure we're not needlessly duplicating and making sure that we're actually improving this area as best we can. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll close our hearing on the Senate Bill 267 and 268. At this time, I guess we'll go ahead and ascertain a motion on the governor's budget amendment number 2. Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the adoption of the governor's budget amendment number 2.
With a language for overview.
With language to review at omnibus the FY22 appropriation and a corresponding FY21 reduction from the state general fund for the 1.792 million. Is that correct, staff? Yes, roughly? All right.
1.7.
We're putting those in motions now, roughly.
Okay, we have a motion, second by Senator Hawk. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we accept the governor's GBA number 2. Okay, at this time, we're going to start making some adjustments, and I think the committee is all aware of a couple of adjustments, one being the School of the Blind, the School of the Deaf. We removed those salaries, which are tied to the school district and had been negotiated, so I think we're all in agreement that we need to put those back in. Senator Clays?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually going to have 4 total motions, and I'm breaking them apart just for purposes of making this a little easier on the numbers. The first one, and none of these are to the exclusion of each other, so just be patient. We'll deal with all of them. The first one is a motion to add 3.9 million, including 24,467 from the State General Fund to restore salary adjustments for KDOT, the Bank Commissioner, and the KBI for FY 2021. Those are, I believe, all, let me just make sure, those are all from executive directives. So these are things that we had passed previously, and those adjustments are ones that were part of an overall plan. So there's a 2.5% increase for KDOT, and there for step movements that the governor has in her executive directive, and then KBI is a 5%. You've probably been contacted by the KBI, but those were all just inadvertently removed when I made the 2.5% motion. It was not intended to pull those. So I would ask that we move those back, and then I will make the 2022 motion next.
Okay, Senator Clays, now, the bank, KBI, KDOT, what was the other one?
Yes, that's correct. The ones for 2021 are only KDOT, the Bank Commissioner, and KBI. The School for the Blind and the Deaf is in 22, and that'll come next.
So questions on Senator McGinn?
I guess I would like to have all that in writing, or show me where that's at. I guess I can go
Sure.
get my budget
So
book out.
Executive Directive number 19-510 is the Kansas Department of Transportation. There's a 2.5% increase for professional civil engineers for step movement. We did that a couple of years ago to address the shortage of civil engineers in the Kansas Department of Transportation. In the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, it's Executive Directive 16-471, and that's a step movement that was taken roughly at the same time that the Highway Patrol increases, and that was to address the shortage that they were having with special agents at the time. So it's a multi-year plan, just like the Highway Patrol, which will actually be my third motion. But those step movements, if you'd like the precise dollars, FY 2021 for KDOT is 3.77 million. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation is only $24,467. That's the only SGF portion. And then the State Bank Commissioner, I think we actually have for 2021, 2022, and 2023. And if I can find it here, it is $141,227. Those are fee funds as well. So the only SGF item in this particular motion is the KBI is $24,467.
This was removed because?
It was inadvertent. When I made the motion to remove the 2.5% for review at omnibus, all raises, even those that were prescribed by executive directive and statute, were removed as well. That was not my intent, but evidently what occurred. So we're just putting those back in this motion. There's more to come.
Because they were previously approved by the legislature.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator Clays, if you want to make a motion on that, I think.
Yeah, I would close on my motion as stated.
I have a motion. Do we have a second by Senator Hawk? Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Senator Clays.
All right, so let's do 2022. 2022 has a few more in it. 11.2 million, including 4.1 from SGF to restore the salary adjustments for, and I'm making a motion here to add 11.2 million, including 4.1 million from the SGF to restore salary adjustments for the Department of Transportation, Wildlife Parks and Tourism, School for the Blind and the Deaf, the Bank Commissioner, the Healthcare Stabilization Fund, and the Kansas Bureau of Investigation for FY 2022. And it's similar to the last one. The only difference is that the School for the Deaf and the Blind is actually statutory based upon matching those salaries with the Olathe School District. So we'll just put those back in at that rate.
Questions? Senator McGinn?
So Senator Clays, what you're doing, or you're fixing some step adjustments that have occurred in the past.
Correct.
But we're still keeping the 2.5% across the board raise for all employees until either we talk about it or omnibus.
Correct, unless
So,
someone had a.
Which I don't know why those things were in the write-up to start with.
Right.
Because generally, the only thing that's, if we have passed it as legislative body, those items usually aren't in the write-up, and then all we do is remove the 2.5% raise.
Yeah.
So,
I must have said something that triggered the whole deal, but the items, as I recall holding up that day, was just the 2.5 that the governor had, but unfortunately, that's not what occurred, so we're just fixing it.
and these items, again, all have been approved by the legislature.
Correct. I have either executive directed numbers or the statute numbers, if you'd like any of those.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Senator Clays, you can move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move my motion.
I have a second? Second by Senator Hawk. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. We have one more, Senator.
Well, two more. So the
more,
bank
okay.
commissioner actually has a 2023, so I'm going to pop that in there just for the sake of getting it out of the way. So I would just make the same motion for $194,888, all from special revenue funds for the state banking commissioner's salary adjustments, including merit-based increases based on annual performance reviews.
Any questions on 23 for the bank? Senator McGinn.
That is the one that is the raises for the people, the directors that sit on it. Is that correct?
Is that right, Amy?
That should be in bill form, and I'd like to know where that bill is.
Amy?
Mr. Chairman, I believe what Senator McGinn is referring to is the per diem reimbursement rate, which is different than Senator Clays's motion regarding salary adjustments for employees. So the per diem, for example, on the shorthand list you see is item 1, the salary adjustment is item 2. So for 2023, it's just the salary adjustments, not the per diem.
So why didn't that come up in our committee? Or did it? Because I don't recall, other than taking out 2.5%.
Mr. Chairman, so the global salary adjustment motion was made in Ways and Means to remove those salary adjustments, so you wouldn't necessarily have heard the discussion of the $194,000 in your subcommittee.
So is it the 2.5%?
So the bank commissioner has a salary plan that does adjustments specifically for the bank commissioner, which is separate from the 2.5%.
And that has been approved by the legislature.
It has been previously discussed by the legislature for the bank commissioner to have this progression.
It's been discussed, but did we pass it?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking here on my items, and I don't have a ED on that or a KSA. It somehow got lumped in here.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have those referenced either. I believe that's simply based on merit. I don't believe there's statutory references for the bank commissioner.
So
We could, if we don't have the information, we could wait on that one till tomorrow and make sure that.
let me recall that motion, and in order to make this a little cleaner, let me just make a motion to remove the bank commissioner from 21, 22, and 23, or 21 and 22, because we just passed those so that we can review what that's all about. I don't think I intended for that to be in there. It is on an other adjustment list. So I'll make that motion to remove from 21 and 22 the bank commissioners' increases that we just passed and review those prior to making that motion.
I'll second, and then I have discussion.
Okay, second by Senator McGinn. Senator McGinn.
So my concern is when we're doing this without any paper, is I want to make sure we're consistent, because there are other agencies out there that probably had some kind of a deal or fee fund, and I don't want to treat one agency differently than the other. So I just want to make sure we're consistent.
And also for the purpose of consistency, the Healthcare Stabilization Fund doesn't have one either. So I'd like to amend my motion to include the bank commissioner and the Healthcare Stabilization Fund and remove those. That's $33,767, but it's also not
So
in
you're
our,
removing it until further information?
yeah, until we have further information on those two. Those did not have a executive directive or a statute behind them.
Okay, I'll second that.
Second by Senator McGinn. Any other questions, Senator Petty?
Maybe I just lost track, but I didn't remember the healthcare stabilization being mentioned until just now.
It was in 22. It was in the motion in 22 that I'd asked for.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, so we'll remove those.
Okay.
Got it, Amy? Thank you.
One more.
Okay,
So this is the Highway Patrol. This is the final one on the list here. You'll remember the rank and pay plan that was introduced quite a while back, and this is just part of that. So the motion here includes that, and then also the pay parity that we discussed between troopers and Capitol Police for 22. So the motion is to add 1.6 million in 2021 and 2.7 in 22, all from special revenue funds, which is the state highway fund, to restore salary adjustments for the Kansas Highway Patrol, provided the agency enacts salary parity between the Kansas Highway Patrol troopers and the Capitol Police officers for FY22. And then I also have some information on, there won't be so hold on, wait. There shouldn't need to be an addition of dollars appropriated for this particular one due to the 62 vacant funded FTEs in this agency and the zero shrinkage rate. So they should have 7.2 million in appropriated funds that do not have a home. I believe I still have to say that we're adding it though. Dial-in, can you help me out with this? I'm trying not to increase their amount here. Yeah, so my motion is not to add funding, but to fund through existing resources. But those are the amounts. It'll cost 1.6 million in 2021 and 2.7 in 2022. The parity portion is about $350,000. They had already budgeted for the 1.6 million and the 2.7 million. Let me think this through. Hold on.
I have a question.
So, I know, we're coming at it. Okay, so we're restoring the 1.6 million and the 2.7 million, so I am doing that. It's the pay parity portion, 350,000, that I'm not funding. So let me go back and just reread it. This is going to be the motion. Add 1.6 million in FY21, 2.7 in FY22, all from the State Highway Fund to restore salary adjustments for the Kansas Highway Patrol, provided the agency enacts salary parity between the Kansas Highway Patrol officers and the Capitol Police for FY22, that portion being funded through existing resources. That's the motion.
do we have a second? Senator Hawk seconds. Discussion, Senator McGinn?
Did we pass a bill addressing parity between the Capitol Police and the Highway Patrol?
No, we didn't. We had it in discussion previously in this committee, and then also in the Budget Committee, we were talking about parity for the Capitol Police. And that would go back to when this was initially passed, that it was not intended to create a disparity between those two groups. When they did the initial rank and pay plan, they only included troopers and did not include the Capitol Police, which I don't, well, I know, I was chair of the committee. We did not intend for that to be the case, but we use words sort of flippantly around here, like Highway Patrol troopers, and we really mean the entire agency. We did it with corrections too. You might recall when we were talking about corrections officers, and then a bunch of people got left out of those two. Anyway, that was unintended, so this would make up for that. And then I believe the following year, the Kansas Highway Patrol was taken out of a 2.5% increase entirely as an agency, so the Capitol Police then got whacked again with not receiving that 2.5% increase. So it created quite a distance in their salaries between each other. And what occurs when that happens, when you have salary disparities between two groups, is morale is kind of weird there, but also then troopers don't want to become Capitol Police officers. So you would have to take a hit if you ever wanted to go from being a Kansas Highway Patrol trooper to a Capitol Police officer. But that That's two unintended items that the Capitol Police were left out of, and this would make up for that with $350,000 from existing resources from the 7.2 million that's available to them because they have a 0% shrinkage and they've lost 62 uniformed officers since the most recent superintendent took over.
Senator McGinn.
Do the Capitol Police have the same training as the Highway Patrol troopers?
So that's a yes and a no. There's a period of time where Capitol Police officers were trained at the KLETC, and there's also proviso language that I have this year that prevents that from happening, but for several years, they were trained as troopers at the Kansas Highway Patrol Training Academy in Salina.
So it's possible a trooper doesn't want to become a Capitol Police officer because they have a different level of training than the Capitol Police officer?
Not necessarily. So some Capitol Police are trained as troopers.
So are all the Capitol Police so I see some in uniforms that look like Highway Patrol, but I see some in jackets with a badge. They're all trained the same.
So no, that's no. If you're thinking of doormen, they're classified separately. So I believe they're classified, I don't remember the numbers, someone can help me, but I think it's like a 999 classification or a part-time classification, that they are not the same as uniformed officers or the people who are working over in the docking building.
So our Capitol Police are the ones in uniform.
Correct.
And are we fixing, so we had a period of time when we did 2.5% raises when we first started doing those about 4 years ago. Someday I'll share this story, but somebody, and it wasn't me, wanted to be clever about how we did that, and it became a problem. You know, it had to do a classified, unclassified, all this. So the next year, we had to fix everything, right? And then the following year, everybody received their raises again, but then somebody forgot to apply for this. So my question for you, are we fixing something that somebody forgot to put in the budget, or are we doing parity?
So it's both. So if it were added the first time, that would have been roughly 7.5%, and then if they were included in the 2.5, it would bring them up about 10%, I believe. And Dylan can help me with that. Yeah, he's shaking his head yes. So it's about 10% that they were left out of. So it brings them back up to the parity that they once had.
I just want, again, back to the fairness of all state employees, and that we're not doing parity if it is something that needs to have legislation in order to do that. So I would just have to know more about their qualifications as a Capitol trooper versus a highway patrol.
We could probably,
So I don't think we had a bill that did this the first time, if I'm not mistaken. This was done through the budget.
So did we
Correct.
fix parity
This was done
once?
through the budget. No, it was not fixed. No, this would be the fix, finally. They've actually gone without this fix for a long time, so it goes back to 2015, I believe.
so it sounds like these folks were left out in the first time we did it,
Right.
and then the 2.5, they were left out
They
on
were
that.
left out of that as well. Yep.
I think that is an annual salary adjustment, has nothing to do with parity. That's my concern. You say the word parity, I think that's a whole nother ballgame. We're trying to decide that one person is equal to another. You're a state employee and you missed out on your 2.5 and you should have got it, you should have got it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, but the distance was created by us, though, and there was no reason for that. They were at a level salary so that people could move between them, and this brings them back to that. It's $350,000, which they have. And I mean, personally, I think the Capitol Police and the state troopers, that the distance between their job requirements isn't great enough for this to be that big of an issue. And it wasn't for the longest time. So there's also that we created this distance when there wasn't one previously to our action on the highway patrol troopers, which, again, when we did this over on the House side, I was chair of the committee, and that was never the intention.
Senator McGinn, are you requesting additional information before you're comfortable in this, doing this? Or what are you thinking?
And I will ask for additional information, but you can move it forward if you'd like or not. I just want to, again, I want to make sure we're being uniform, equitable to all state employees.
And I can appreciate that. I'd prefer to move this in there because I don't want to have to describe it again. So if you wouldn't mind letting us vote on this, I would appreciate that. And we can readdress it
Okay,
later if it's
if
something you
the
want to do.
committee is comfortable, we'll go ahead and add this and request some additional information to, for tomorrow. And so
I'll bring-
try to get clarity for that.
I have paperwork on it. I'll bring copies for everyone tomorrow.
Senator Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm just trying to clarify what I've written down here, because now the words pay parity keeps coming back up again. And Senator, when you refer to pay parity, it's being funded through what?
Existing resources. So the Highway Patrol has lost 62 uniformed officers since the most recent superintendent was hired, and those positions are vacant and funded to the tune of about $7.2 million. Somebody shake their head if I'm wrong. Nope, that's an up-down. That means I'm right. $7.2 million, so the agency has about $7.2 million or part of that, which would be easily funding the $350,000 that would bring these two groups of, I mean, I call them troopers, but I guess they're troopers and LEOs, up to the same salary schedule.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Senator, you can make your motion.
I move my motion.
Second by Senator Hawk. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. One that I'd like to bring up, I guess we still have a little time here. Senate Bill 155, which was passed a couple of years ago, and I believe this was a 2% cut or allotment that the governor made, and I think that's something that I don't know if we'll have time today, but for tomorrow, if you all want to kind of look that over, see if we want to reinstate the funding. The schools have already delivered their services, and if we don't fund this, the schools are holding the bag because they've already done their part. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up before we adjourn today, that that's one that I think we needed to look at and discuss tomorrow.
Can we get some paperwork on that before tomorrow? I couldn't hear everything you were saying. Is allotment?
The governor had did allotment on Senate Bill 155.
Okay.
And if we don't put money back in there, the schools will not be reimbursed for the services they've already delivered. So this year it was 2.1, and next year it was 8.3 million. Senator Petty.
Was that in the Department of Education funding? Was that in the Department of Education budget?
Amy, do you know?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, I do not know. We can certainly find out for you before tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, sorry. Shirley knows.
Mr. Chair, can I assume you're talking about SB 155 for community and technical colleges?
Correct. The question, Senator Petty
That's in
had?
the Board of Regents budget.
Other questions for Shirley? Seeing none, thank you, Shirley. Amy?
Mr. Chairman, when appropriate, I have a couple clarification items before you close for the day.
Okay. I think we'll just go ahead and do that if you would like.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify, so as I discussed in the overview, the governor's budget includes savings based on reamortizing capers. So since there's not been a substantive bill, that would require restoring those savings to the budget. So that would be the addition of $177 million to the, including $158.7 million from the State General Fund in fiscal year 2022.
Okay.
I don't know if you would like a motion on that, or you would simply like to give us direction to remove those savings?
Yes. Senator Clays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we remove those savings.
Second by Senator McGinn. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion, opposition? No. Senator Hawk, Senator Petty, you aye or nay?
I just wanted to clarification on that amount, on that, was that it?
It was
Yeah, was that 77 million?
SGF 156.7. No, 158.7. I can't even see them. And the total was 177.3.
Thank you.
So Senator Hawk wanted to be a nay, correct? Yes. Recorded, okay. And Senator Petty is nay also, okay. So we had 2 nays. Motion carries. Okay, I think with that, we will conclude our business for today, and we'll resume tomorrow with the final action on the budget. With that, we are adjourned. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Amy, you had one other thing?
I believe Senator Kirshen may have a question for me. Just want to make sure it was addressed.
Oh, okay. Senator Kirshen. I thought it was an allotment, wasn't it, Amy?
I believe that's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, oh, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.